All right, part 3 of how I was scammed by my Nigerian husband. So, while we were in the hotel to Abuja, about 2 or 3 days before we actually got married, my husband had a come to Jesus moment, if you will. He decided he wanted to come clean about some things in his life. Now, mind you, one night he got drunk while I was in America. So one day when he was drinking, he had said to me, how would I feel if I knew that it was women that would send him money from the internet? What did I think about that? And he was drinking quite a bit, and a drunk mind speaks a sober tongue. So I definitely was very focused on what he was saying at that point, because every time he gets to drinking, he spills a little bit more tea. So I was listening to it, and he said that, and I'm from Brooklyn, so I normally have an opinion about everything, but I didn't say anything at that point. I was just listening. So the next day, I asked him about it, and he just acted like he didn't know what I was talking about. But I did keep a mental note of it. So while we were in Abuja, a couple of days before we got married, we had to air our dirty laundry, type of conversation, a coming to Jesus moment, if you will, a real nigga moment, if you will. And we were discussing, things from our past. And that's when he told me that, a guy that I knew was telling me to go on websites and essentially meet women, and, women would send him money. And he did it regularly at some point, but he had stopped doing that. He had stopped doing that when he met me, because it was no longer needed at that moment, I'm going to say. And it wasn't because I was able to make up that income that he was making, because during the pandemic, I was working one job. I had stopped working one job full time because of the pandemic, because it was outside. But then I started working from home, and that particular job wasn't paying a whole lot of money. And so I didn't have a lot of money in that moment. I was barely making ends meet. So if I was sending a little $50, $25 for data and stuff like that here and there, yeah, I was definitely doing that. And this is before we got married. So I was definitely doing that, so which I'm sure wasn't the smartest thing to do, hindsight being 2020. But I looked at it, I justified it to myself from the perspective of, if I was messing with somebody who was local, who lived here, and he said, oh, I need gas money. Can you give me gas money to payday? Or, something like that. We doing for each other. We in a situation right now I can give, so I'm going to try and help. You know what I mean? So that happened. And then, so tells me that, that's what he used to do before, but he wasn't doing that anymore. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, if you're not doing it anymore. But, and again, mental note to just kind of keep my eyes open and ears peeled for whether or not that's true. So, boom. We go and get married. His brother was supposed to, I don't know if I mentioned that part. His brother was supposed to, be a witness at our wedding, but at the last minute, his brother said that he didn't want to do it. And my husband wouldn't tell me why he didn't want to do it. But he ended up being able to call a friend at the last minute who showed up and was, came as the witness for the wedding. So your own brother doesn't want to come to your wedding. I'm super confused about that. But at this point, everything else has kind of been a shit show. It's kind of been up and down. So I'm just kind of going with it at this point, because I'm emotionally invested. I'm financially invested. I'm here. I'm in love, so, I'm with it. I'm fighting for my relationship type situation. So, after the whole wedding situation happens, and I'm quite unhappy with the fact that I didn't get the zebras running in the background and the whole African experience. And I really just got married in a hot ass courthouse with 30 other couples wearing a pair of jeans I bought from Torrid. That was kind of sitting on me a little bit. But in the same token, I'm like, well, this is this wedding. And maybe when we get to America, then, we'll have a better wedding. And I'm just trying to be real optimistic about the situation. But I felt very shorted at that time. And I probably should have spoke on that, but I didn't, because I didn't want him to feel away. African men, their egos are sky high, and I'm just feeling like I just don't want to say anything or do anything that's going to make him feel less than, because already I'm carrying the brunt of the finances. I had money to get to a better hotel. If I would have called my family and told them that I was in a rat trap, they would have made sure that I was in a better hotel. But, I didn't want what they were saying, to be true at that point, because I sure got asked quite a few times, are you sure that this is what you want to do, and things like that. And I was on some, you're not going to tell me what I can do, and, all of that I'm so grown stuff. So we'll pick this up in part 4.